All Indiana Politics is your premier source for Indiana politics, focusing on issues that matter to you.
I still want us to be the best in the Midwest.
We can't afford another lockdown.
Give the citizens of this country the relief they need.
Education in the state of Indiana remains priority number one.
In-depth, nonpartisan coverage.
We don't know exactly where the economy will be in January.
People are worried with good reason.
Exclusive interviews with Indiana's political leaders.
We have the resources here in the state of Indiana to care for those who are in need.
Expert analysis on critical legislation.
We need to reform those laws.
This recovery is going to take some time.
We've got to anticipate that there'll be a budget shortfall.
From Wish TV, this is All Indiana Politics Podcast on the All Indiana Podcast Network.
I'm Wish TV government reporter Garrett Bergquist. A second Democrat has entered this year's Attorney General race. Beth White is a former Marion County Clerk and a former deputy prosecutor. She most recently led the Indiana Coalition to End Sexual Assault and Human Trafficking. Like fellow Democrat Destiny Wells, White tells me the controversy surrounding current Republican Attorney General Todd Rokita motivated her to run. Let's bring in Beth White. Beth, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Good to be with you.
So why are you running for Attorney General?
Yeah, I am motivated to enter this race because I believe the people of Indiana deserve an Attorney General who is thinking about them, what they need, what their needs are. The Attorney General, of course, is the highest lawyer in the state, highest law enforcement officer of the state. And I believe that the current Attorney General has lost his way in the focus. I have more than 30 years experience as a lawyer. I have spent almost all of that time in the public sector, the not-for-profit sector, thinking about vulnerable people, thinking about children, victims of crime, thinking about voters. I spent 8 years as the clerk of Marion County. I love that work because it really was focused on making sure people could engage with their government. And it was a great privilege to serve. And when I was done with that in 2014, I ran for Secretary of State, and I really wanted to continue working the advocacy and other interests that I had been working toward for the people of Indiana. That didn't work out. So in the last 6 or 8 years, I've been doing other things, including serving Mayor Hogsett and then now running the Indiana Coalition to End Sexual Assault and Human Trafficking. What I know about the state of Indiana is it's full of really good people, and those good people deserve a government that is serving them, and those people in government who wake up every day thinking about what they need. What are their interests? And as the lawyer of the state of Indiana, if I get to be Attorney General, when I get to be Attorney General, I want to be the lawyer of all the people of Indiana. And I want to wake up every day and think about how to serve them, what they need, what their interests are, how to make their lives better. And so that's why I'm motivated to get in this race.
You alluded to your resume already. Tell me a little bit more about how that experience as Marion County Clerk, as a deputy prosecutor for a little while, running the Coalition to End Sexual Assault and Human Trafficking, how did those various roles prepare you for this job?
Yeah, there is no question that serving in government is hard work, and I have done it. I have managed multi-million-dollar budgets. I have supervised and overseen staff of hundreds and hundreds of people. I have worked with the legislature. I spent a short time working in Washington, in Congress. I understand the way that states and federal governments interact, and I will be ready day one to take the helm in the Attorney General's office and be the Attorney General that people deserve. It is, as I said, hard work, but it is also work that has to be motivated by what's in the best interest of the people that we are there to serve. And over the course of 30 years, I really have been preparing in my career by doing various things. I have worked in the judicial branch, I've worked in the legislative branch, I've worked in the executive branch, I've worked at local government, I've worked in state government. I was chief counsel of a state agency. I worked at child abuse and neglect at DCS. So I have really had a long and very wonderful career. I have had the opportunity to serve in so many capacities where people's lives are really impacted. It's been a great privilege, as I said. And being Attorney General is an important and serious job. It is a job that the occupant of that office has to take seriously and has to really be focused on the core mission of that office. And I believe that I am the person in this race who can take office and be focused immediately on the important work.
You've said your priorities include going after sex traffickers and child predators. In practice, how would you do that?
Yeah, the Attorney General's office has tremendous power, and that power comes from the ability to work with local law enforcement, with federal law enforcement, including the FBI, the U.S. Attorney's Office, Homeland Security. And what I have seen lately is that our current Attorney General is not taking seriously the opportunity to lead. There is, of course, as the lawyer of the state of Indiana, the opportunity to build coalitions and to lead around issues of bringing people together. Child sex trafficking and child predators who work on the internet is just really hard work. It is not, I've been a prosecutor, I've spent a lot of time in local government thinking about how to assist the police and how to work with law enforcement. And it's not easy. The internet environment makes everything more complicated. But that doesn't mean that we have to give up or that we have to let that kind of behavior continue. What it takes is collaboration. What it takes is working with all levels of local, federal, and state law enforcement and local and federal prosecutors. I was a prosecutor. I have a great relationship with our U.S. Attorney's Office here in the Southern District. We've also worked in my current organization with the Northern District Southern U.S. Attorney's Office. So I fear that currently our Attorney General is not as collaborative as he needs to be in order to serve the people of Indiana. So collaboration with other organizations at every level of government, making sure that people are educated. Parents are the first line of defense to protect our children. I am a parent, and I know so many people whose children could be vulnerable. And they're vulnerable because their parents really don't know and understand how social media is working. What are the ways in which we can protect our children? And I believe that the Attorney General needs to take a leadership role. I believe the Attorney General needs to be the voice in the state of Indiana for protecting our children, equipping parents, equipping educators, coaches, pastors, band directors. Everyone who interacts with children needs to be equipped to understand what's at risk and how to help children. And I am somewhat uniquely situated with my entire experience to be that voice and to step into that leadership role. And I just don't think our current Attorney General is taking that as seriously as he needs to.
How would you enforce Indiana's housing laws?
Yeah, Indiana has extremely weak housing laws. We have very few tenant protections. So the ones that we do have should be enforced really in a strong way. We have a housing crisis in the state of Indiana. And while I know that the Attorney General's office doesn't play a direct role, clearly the Attorney General's office is responsible for enforcing tenant protections that do exist. I know it's a balance, and I understand, but I do believe that local governments should have the opportunity to institute specific ordinances and other kinds of rules. I know that there has been a fight with the legislature about that. But what I see every single day in the work I'm doing with sexual violence victims is finding stable, affordable, and safe housing is a real crisis in the state of Indiana. People are suffering, not just victims of crime, but everyone deserves a safe, stable place to live. What we saw during the pandemic, and I think this is a really important point, housing is healthcare. When we talked about quarantining at home during the pandemic, you and I were able to do that, and almost everybody, in my neighborhood was able to do that. What about people who are unhoused? What about people who are unstably housed? How do they go home and be safe? We know that congregate shelters are a danger to people for healthcare reasons because they are not ideal. Indiana has to do better. And this is really a call that I make to all levels of government. We've got to do better to provide safe and stable housing. The Attorney General plays a role, and that role is to enforce the law that is there and to advocate for stronger laws for tenant protections and to work with local governments to help them solve these problems in their communities. I believe in local control. I believe that every community knows what's best for their community. And so the Attorney General should play a leadership role in that and should equip local communities to do what they know is best for their people.
Would you pursue any enforcement actions against social media companies such as TikTok or Instagram as the current Attorney General has done?
I haven't currently taken a position on that. I want to investigate more about how that would work. I believe that other states are kind of tipping a toe in the water of those kinds of enforcement actions. I need to educate myself a little bit better. I have a teenager in my house. He utilizes social media in a way that I don't personally. But what I do know is that the Attorney General needs to equip families and parents to understand how it works. I think there is a place for legal action against some of the media providers, but I also think that there are other things that we can do. And I really feel like filing a lawsuit or joining on to a lawsuit is really just kind of in some ways a cop-out. It is not the silver bullet that we need. In order to protect children, we need to equip parents, coaches, teachers, others to be more involved and to understand better how young people are using social media.
You've criticized Indiana's abortion ban, which is facing several lawsuits. The Attorney General's duties include representing the state in legal cases where the state is a party. Would you defend the state's abortion laws in court, absent any changes from state lawmakers?
Yeah. Yes, because it is the Attorney General's responsibility to defend state law. But let me say this. What our current Attorney General has done in going after doctors who are performing completely legal medical procedures is outrageous, and it has to stop. I am very, very concerned that this current Attorney General is overstepping and using his authority in a way that's inappropriate. Doctors and other healthcare providers in the state of Indiana have to be free of the kind of harassment and government overreach that we've seen from this Attorney General. I am very concerned about the chilling effect it's going to have on our ability to attract, retain, and train doctors, in particular OBGYNs. We know the baby boom is aging. I have aging parents. Everyone I know has aging parents. And they deserve health care, a health care environment that is free of abuse and also is as robust as it can be. Doctors and other healthcare providers will not practice medicine in the state of Indiana if they fear their licenses are at risk because of our current Attorney General. I believe that women and their healthcare providers ought to make decisions about their reproductive rights. I was very active in my current role on behalf of the Indiana Coalition to End Sexual Assault and Human Trafficking in the abortion debate. We fought hard to make sure that there were exceptions for rape and incest. We do have those exceptions that are, in my opinion, not long enough and not a meaningful remedy. But I don't need the Attorney General at my kitchen table making decisions for my family and for me. I, as a woman, can make my own health care decisions, and I believe strongly in that. But I also understand that the Attorney General has a role to play in defending laws that are passed by the legislature. But I would not go after doctors who are performing procedures that are perfectly legal and helping patients access health care that they need. That is overreach, and it has to stop.
What's one service the Attorney General's office doesn't currently provide, or at least not to any meaningful extent, that we haven't talked about that you'd like to expand?
Well, we've talked about the need to help equip parents and others about social media. I believe that the Attorney General's office needs to take a leadership role in Medicare and Medicaid fraud, right? It is the Consumer Protection Division of the office whose mission should be to protect patients from some sort of fraud and abuse in the healthcare setting. What we are seeing with the aging baby boom is the need for more and better facilities that are there to care for people. And I believe that this current Attorney General doesn't do enough to protect our seniors. And so we've talked about kids and the social media environment and potential harm to them. Let's talk about seniors. We need to protect our seniors from abuse and fraud that is potentially perpetrated against them in the healthcare setting. And this is one thing I think this current Attorney General has not done enough. I think we have got to take seriously the responsibility of making sure that healthcare facilities are treating our seniors with dignity and providing them the care that they need. The aging baby boom is going to be the gray wave, we've heard people say, of folks who are going to need this kind of care going forward. We need to make sure there are sufficient facilities. We need to make sure there are sufficient providers, and that goes back to what I said a minute ago about making sure we aren't scaring doctors in the state of Indiana away from providing care. And we need to make sure that the resources, specifically Medicaid and Medicare, are used appropriately. These are government resources, and the Attorney General's office is the watchdog, is the place where these kinds of resources should be protected to benefit our seniors. And I feel like that's a place where we could be doing better.
How do you plan to win statewide office as a Democrat in a deep red state?
Well, there's no question that it's uphill, but our two-party system is designed to, when it's working properly, to be an exchange of ideas. And I believe that the people of Indiana deserve a robust exchange of ideas. When we have one party in particular, as you said, a deep red state, that is dominating the political environment in our state, we are not serving the people. We are not giving them the options that they deserve. The people of Indiana deserve a robust debate on things like reproductive care, on things like protecting our children. They deserve a robust debate about that, about how we do it, how we appropriately do it, what is the role of the Attorney General, what is the focus the Attorney General ought to have. And currently, I don't think we're getting that kind of robust debate. I want to provide that. I want to work as hard as a human can work in the next 9 to 10 months to make sure that I am a part of that debate. There's no question that it's uphill, but I can do hard things. I was clerk of Marion County for 8 years. We ran 14 elections, more elections than anybody else in the history of the state of Indiana. And it is a privilege to serve, as I said, and it's also a privilege to be a part of this conversation. Again, the people of Indiana deserve a conversation that is robust and constructive and focused on them. And that's what I'm going to provide in this race.
There's already one other Democrat in this race so far, and there's still time for more to enter. What sets you apart?
My experience absolutely sets me apart. Again, a robust exchange of ideas is a good thing, and we're going to have that on the Democratic Party side as well. But I am an experienced leader. I have had the opportunity to lead in the elected setting, in the appointed setting through 2 governors and 2 mayors. I was a deputy prosecutor in the courtroom defending the interest of victims. I've spent the last 2 years working on behalf of sexual violence victims. I am ready day one to come into the office and to lead in a way that the people of Indiana deserve. And that is not to say that the other people in this race are not good people with good ideas. They certainly are. But what sets me apart is my experience and my ability to lead. I've done it, and I can do it again.
Beth White, thank you for joining us.
It's great to be with you.
That was Beth White, Democratic candidate for Attorney General. Democrats will nominate their Attorney General candidate at the state party convention this summer. Remember, you can catch All Indiana Politics every Sunday morning at 9:30, only on Wish TV. I'm Garrett Bergquist. Thanks for listening.
From Wish TV, this is All Indiana Politics Podcast on the All Indiana Podcast Network. Watch All Indiana Politics live Sunday mornings at 9:30 on Wish TV and at wishtv.com. Subscribe to this podcast and listen weekly here on the All Indiana Podcast Network. And be sure to discover even more great podcasts at allindianapodcastnetwork.com.